Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. My name is Paras Fatnani. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder at Seed Global Education. Today's session is brought to you in partnership with Schulich School of Business, York University. We're going to talk today about future-proofing your career and how an MBA can bridge the gap between business and technology and what the future ahead lies with that as well. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes as many of you are joining in. And as we do that, if I can request the folks that are here, if you can post in the chat which city or which country are you joining in from at the moment. So if you can post in the chat box which city and country you're joining in from, this will just give us a good idea of the people that are in the session today. I see already many of you posting in. We've got folks from Bangalore, from Accra, from Addis Ababa. Lovely to see you all here. Thank you for chiming in so quickly. We've got some folks from China, someone from Zimbabwe. Lovely to have you all here. Thank you for joining us today. Great to see such a great mix of people coming in as well. Today's session, we're going to learn a little bit more about how Schulich has helped several folks that have joined the MBA program bridge that gap between technology and business, and how future-proof your career becomes with an MBA as well. And we'll also hear from Kunal, who is currently a partner and co-leader at KPMG. So we'll come to that as well. But before we do that, I want to go quickly to the first poll. I see about 100 of you here already. What we'll do is I'll put up the first poll that will come up on your screen. On the poll, what we'd love to understand is, do you believe, and it should be on your screen up now, do you believe acquiring technology-related skills is essential for significantly impacting business careers, and particularly for those in finance? So is technology starting to play a more impactful role as you think about building a career in finance? The responses have been stunning so far. Thank you for all of you that are already responding. It's great to see so many of you share your opinions with so much certainty. We'll keep the poll running for another 10 or 15 seconds. If you can take a quick second to respond to the poll on your screen. Do you believe acquiring technology-related skills will significantly help improve your standing, or it will impact how business careers and the ones particularly in finance are looked at today? Several of you have responded. I'm going to give it the last 5 seconds before I close the poll. So if you can see this question on your screen, please take a quick second to respond to it. Over 75% of you have responded. And at this point, I'm going to close the poll and share the results with you. It is very intriguing to see that a strong 98% of you think that technology is starting to play a stronger role in terms of the careers, and particularly for those in finance. So thank you. Thank you for all of those that took the time to respond to us. There were 2% of you that were unsure, but I think today's conversation will also ascertain more strongly what that role is. Before we move into that discussion, I want to quickly first hand over to Carl and Sarah to talk to us a little bit about introducing Schulich, and then we'll take the conversation forward with Kunal as well, and I'll take a moment after that to introduce Kunal as well. But first up, Carl, Sarah, over to you.
Thanks, Paris. Sarah, can you load up those slides for us? There we go. I think everyone's seeing the screen. Okay, great. So hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Carl Sachs. I'm one of the admissions directors here at the Schulich School of Business. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. Before we jump into the main event with Kunal, again, Sarah and I wanted to give you a quick overview rundown of what the Schulich School of Business is and what we have to offer. The next slide, Sarah. So for anyone who's not already familiar with the Schulich, we are part of York University, which is the third largest university in Canada, and we are located in Toronto, which is Canada's largest city. We are consistently ranked one of the top business schools in the world by organizations like The Economist, Forbes, CNN Expansion, and Corporate Knights. And those rankings have a lot to do with the high quality of education in our programs, innovation in our programs, industry connections, and employability, and of course, our award-winning faculty. Another point of pride for Schulich is the diversity of our professors, employers that are hiring our students, and the student body. Our classrooms are comprised of many unique perspectives, with about 55% of students coming from or that are international, coming from other countries. And about 70% of our students, particularly in the MBA, for example, come from non-business backgrounds. So we find that our wide range of specializations, electives, and programs, as well as our joint degree options and graduate diplomas, are really attractive to a wide range of candidates. We, of course, also have a passionate and well-connected alumni network around the world, with chapters in over 90 different countries. So when people are joining Schulich, in addition to the programs that they're joining, what they're learning in their classroom from their colleagues and their classmates and their professors, they're also building lifelong relationships and joining this very well-connected alumni network, which, of course, for example, Kunal, who will be speaking later, is a part of. Next slide, Sarah. And as I mentioned before, we are located in Toronto, which is the financial and business center of Canada and the country's largest job market. So just like Schulich, it's a diverse and multicultural place, with over 50% of the people living in Toronto being born outside of Canada. And it's also the third largest tech sector in North America, and a continuously growing hub for startups and venture capital. Studying in Toronto and Canada also offers a lot of opportunity for our graduates. And although there have been some recent changes by the Canadian government, the impact on students at prominent business schools like ours has been very, very minimal. Of course, they offer strong immigration support both during and within the program. So we have several immigration advisors on staff. Those are registered Canadian immigration consultants. And our programs allow candidates to get a 3-year post-graduation work permit, and that's for any of our master's programs, as well as anyone who's joining our 2-year MBA programs like the Tech MBA or the I guess we'll call it the normal MBA. It's possible to get a 2-year spousal work permit for your spouse. So again, Canada is still very much open to international students coming to our business schools. And with that, I'll pass it over to Sarah to talk a little bit about the programs that we have.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Carl. So as mentioned, my name is Sarah Thomas, and I am one of the managers here at the Schulich School of Business, overseeing admissions specifically into our MBA programs. So I wanted to highlight some of our programs here. So at Schulich, we have a very diverse range of programs available, as you can see here on your screen. So they range really from the undergraduate level all the way through to doctoral level programs. And so with these highlights today, especially being our 2 MBA programs, so you heard Carl mention that we do have the regular MBA as well as the Tech MBA, which is the first and only one of its kind in Canada. And we also have 9 specialized master's programs. But today we are really going to be focusing on our regular MBA and the Tech MBA. But before we move into our keynote speaker, I did just want to highlight some of our developments that we've had in the tech space at Schulich. So as you can see, Schulich really is a leader in fostering innovation and driving kind of technological excellence in the business world. So we really do take pride in shaping that next generation of leaders really at the intersection of business and technology, because as we all know, every business is a tech business now, whether they like it or not. And Schulich has really been a pioneer in the technology education space, having created the very first Masters of Business Analytics program. So that's our MBA program that you see on our screen. So that really is furthering our leadership in data-driven decision-making. And again, as I mentioned, we are very proud to have started the very first Tech MBA program. As I mentioned, it is the first and only one of its kind in the country. And we will go into more depth about our MBA program as well as our Tech MBA program after we hear from our keynote speaker. But we also have our MMAI program, which is a Master's of Management in Artificial Intelligence. And we're also really leaders in supporting the next generation of entrepreneurs and innovators. So this is through the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And so this really leads the development of accelerators and incubator services at Schulich and its various programs. So as you can see at Schulich, we don't just keep up with tech advancements, we really lead the way. So I'd like to pass it over to Paris again to introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think that gives us all a little bit of an understanding of what Schulich offers. And thank you, firstly, to the Schulich School of Business for being a great partner for us for today's session as well. Kunal, thank you for taking time for being here with us. Just to introduce Kunal for everybody who is here, Kunal is a partner and advisory and co-leader for digital assets for the Center of Excellence at KPMG Canada. He has over 12 years of experience conducting and leading compliance and risk assessments, red flag due diligence, valuation, technology audits for crypto, fintech, TradeFi, as well as technology sectors. He's been involved in the crypto and blockchain space, which we hear so much about, since 2015. And as the first crypto hire for the firm, Kunal established the KPMG Canada's crypto and blockchain practice. So Kunal, firstly, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to host you. For folks that are listening in, the idea today of us bringing Kunal here is to talk a little bit about what it is like for somebody who experiences students that come through the sector today and are coming into employment, and what those skills are, and how a Schulich MBA has also helped people to bridge that gap between technology and business as well. So Kunal, firstly, we appreciate your time. I know this is a busy period as well, so thank you for taking the time and being here. Let me start off with my first question. With your extensive 13 years of experience in tech-enabled roles, a field that has undergone significant transformation broadly, what are the emerging trends that you foresee shaping the future of work? And additionally, what skills are you seeing that are becoming essential for people to come through this landscape?
For sure. Thanks, Paris. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to Schulich for inviting me. And it's a great question and a very timely question, Paris. So, when we think about really what are the emerging trends around the future of work, right? Especially when we talk about, and I think, Sarah has also mentioned this, technology is enabling business these days. Like if you're running a business today, you can't do a better job at it if you're not leveraging technologies. So, and especially if you think about some of the emerging technologies around AI, digital assets, these are technologies that are enabling business operations and enabling completely new business lines within organizations. So I think my first advice to anyone that's coming into any job market is to build skill sets around these emerging technologies. And not just learning around, when we talk about, let's say as an example, when we talk about AI, it's not just about learning how to write prompts, learning how to build AI models, but also think about how do you want to differentiate yourself? Because there are so many people that are learning that same thing that everyone else is learning around, oh, how do I build an AI model? How do I build an AI chatbot? But there are so many adjacent roles that allow you to build your niche, right? I talked about, in my intro, you mentioned like risk assessments, or technology audits, compliance. All of those are adjacent roles to the adoption of these emerging technologies that are addressing key challenges and enabling the business in adopting these technologies in their day-to-day. So it's very important as you think about these emerging technologies and how they're enabling business operations, what role do you fit in well? And finding that niche is very critical. And secondly, I would say, a lot of companies that I'm starting to work with nowadays, they are going global, right? And when we talked about globalization, maybe 5-7 years ago, even before COVID, A lot of companies talked about having employees locally in different jurisdictions and having businesses locally. But going global means very different thing today. Like post-COVID, when most of the work is done remotely, virtually, you have the infrastructure available for these companies to be able to operate with global employees. So the headquarter might be in one jurisdiction or one country, but they have employees that are really providing their inputs to that company, but are spread across globally. So working across different time zones and having the ability to understand the different cultures, within different geographies, is one of the key things that I would say everyone needs to understand. And the more we see companies moving in a hybrid or a completely remote working environment, it is absolutely critical for people to have that sense of accountability and responsibility towards their job, right? It's not that now you're in this office space where you have your boss or manager like sitting right next to you or in the office next to you and can knock on your door and ask you to do certain things. So it's more about having that accountability that's absolutely key. And then another area I would mention is cybersecurity. So all of these emerging technologies, AI, digital assets, like cybersecurity, these are all emerging technologies. And if you're talking about AI digital assets, right, like you're talking about things which very few people know how to do. And so like everyone on the call over here is still quite early in the market to be able to build their skill sets around it. And cybersecurity, the more technology adoption we see, the more cybersecurity challenges we're going to see, proliferate for these companies. And building those skill sets that address a challenge or a gap within these organizations and helping these organizations is absolutely key. And in my experience, when I got into crypto, blockchain, digital assets, I was one of the very few people globally, and especially here in Canada, that was considered a subject matter expert in the space. But I didn't know much back then, but I knew enough about it and the potential for it to grow. So that's why I was brought in to the firm to build the practice. But it's about constantly learning about these things that kept me up to date with what's going on in the market. And yeah, I think like those are some of the key things that I would say are essential skills that you need to build in this evolving landscape of Canada, especially.
Yeah, no, and that's so well put. There were so many aspects of what you spoke about that definitely resonated really closely with me, because I think as the economy is evolving, the nature of skill sets or the nature of industries using those skill sets is equally evolving as fast as well. For everybody who's listening in, I'd love for you, if you have any questions that you'd like me to ask Kunal, please use the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen to post your questions, be it for Kunal, be it for the Schulich team. We'll try and take as many of those as possible through this conversation as well. Kunal, the next thing, and I'm going to go slightly more rudimentary here, because I feel, when candidates are starting to think about that initial jump start to their career, there's a sense of a fear, right? And largely because of how technology is dominating careers today as well. Talk to us. You came from an engineering background, going into an MBA. For folks that don't come from that background, what is your advice? Do you feel that they need to do something before coming in, or is there some sort of prep that you advise for? Or you did your MBA in 2015, and I'm sure it shows very well at this moment when you're leading a practice. Are there any tips for somebody who's starting off now that you would recommend?
I would say, just having a better understanding of what you were doing in the past. Like if you have certain work experience that you've had in your own companies or geographies, try and understand what are the challenges that you've faced in your industry, in your line of work, right? Because there's a very good chance that when you come to the MBA, you're going to meet people that have similar backgrounds, that have similar job functions before, and have faced those challenges as well, and might have also overcome those challenges. So, in understanding how technologies can actually help you address those challenges is going to be absolutely key. So think about your own line of work, and that's only if you want to remain in that same line of work, right? But if, let's say, a lot of people come and try and do their MBA because they want to switch their careers to do something else, then start learning about what you want to do, what you're passionate about, find that niche, and just go down the rabbit hole of being the absolute best in that area. And that's my advice to everyone, because when I started in talking about crypto, like, people used to call me crazy that this is and I first sort of neglected it, calling it nerd money. But as the more and more I learned, the more I put my money where my mouth is, right? I started to learn more about what my niche is, what my passion is, and then just allowing myself to bridge the gap between how businesses operate today and how what I'm passionate about, or the industry that I'm passionate about, is helping address a lot of the challenges within the industries that I'm working with.
Mhm. And that, that for everybody listening in, I feel is such great advice, because the evolution of how you're using that skill is also so closely related to putting them into practice in different opportunities that one gets as well. Kunal, I'll bring my next question with a similar sort of stage, and I see many folks have started putting questions into the chat as well. So please keep putting the questions there. We'll try and take as many of those for the Schulich team as well as for Kunal. But Kunal, talk to me a little bit about the whole idea of an MBA, and people think that, especially for individuals that are looking at some of these new industries or new areas of work within the sort of finance and consulting space in particular. How did the MBA equip you as a person with the people skills, especially with new geographies and clubs that you may have been part of as well? Talk to us a little bit about that experience of what that MBA did, and how did that give you the jump start?
For sure. So, as you mentioned, my background was engineering. I did my engineering in technology. I had no idea how, finance worked, right? I had no idea what was the business of the banks, how do they make money, etc. And, when I came to Schulich and did my MBA, I specifically wanted to I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go into consulting, because that also relates with my prior experience. But I wanted to understand how traditional finance really works, right? Like, how are these businesses making money? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be hired within a business, and if you understand how to help them make more money, that's how you build your niche, right? That's how you build your competitive advantage and differentiate yourself. So when I came into Schulich, I took specialized like finance courses. I had great professors that helped me really understand how finance works, right? And for me, it was not, I was not looking at the time. There was no tech MBA, so I did my full-time MBA, the generic one. But I did specialize in finance and strategy because I already had the technology background. What I needed to do was understand how finance works, and it was upon me to bridge that gap by myself, right? And make sure that I am able to understand how technology can help address those challenges. Because when you have that technology background and technology mindset, you're trying to optimize the businesses for as much as possible. And when I saw a lot of how traditional finance works, there were a lot of pain points, right? And finance works differently in every country, right? But banks work differently. They have different technologies in how they enable transfer of money, etc., and what kind of offerings do they have for their customers. So try and bring that background from your own country and understand, okay, how things are working here in Canada or in some other country, and try and address those gaps by bringing in your perspective and your experience from your background. So, it's upon you to take on that challenge and responsibility to understand, okay, how can I help these companies? How do I differentiate myself? Because if you're just applying for a job here in Canada, just sending in your resume and expecting to get a call, it is not as straightforward. There are a lot of it's a competitive market, right? There are significant amount of opportunities, but it is still a competitive market. So how do you differentiate yourself is key, and that's one of the things that I learned from my MBA. And I know there were a few things that helped me during my MBA, like the case competitions that I was part of, that helps you build your storytelling skill set, right? Because especially in consulting, a lot of people say you're going in, you're telling a company that's been in that business for decades, you're telling them how to do their job better or can they make their business better. Um, but it's not just about that. It's about bringing that outside perspective and having the skill set of storytelling and helping those companies understand that what you bring to the table is actually going to add value to them. And I got some practical experience doing that as part of your consulting group that I also got the experience from working with real companies and enabling that consulting skill set. And I think one of the big things that really helped me understand how the work culture is here in Canada was our Milestone 601 project. And I'm sure like there's students will have some questions around it, but I think that experience, that 2-semester long project, really helped me work with a real company in real life, solving real life challenges for them. So I think all of those skill sets were things that I acquired during my MBA that helped me throughout my career so far.
And that's wonderful. And I want to sort of just emphasize for everyone listening, and a lot of things that Kunal spoke about. As an international student, I think these are benefits that you look for in a school. And I'm coming in as an outsider, talking to Kunal, who, obviously built an extremely successful career in the space. But, the sort of opportunities of bringing people together from different cultures through the experiences that Kunal has shared already, I think make it quite a unique proposition when you think about any school and any program as such as well. Kunal, I'm going to try and, while I have several more questions for you, I'm going to try and take some questions from the audience as well, because there's about 15 of them that have already come in. And for everyone that's putting in questions, my request to you is that if you see a question that's already there that aligns with what you want to ask, just upvote that question instead of asking a similar question again. That will help us get through more questions in this time that we have as well. Kunal, first up, there's a question from Tesfaye, who's asking, what are the core skills should an MBA graduate develop to effectively lead in both business and technology sectors? And I think today's session is sort of carving in on that exactly. So what are your thoughts as such? What should the key skills be?
I think just the skill set and understanding, like it's not just silo, understanding the technology, and if you're understanding business in a silo is not enough. You have to try and bring these together, and also having the ability to communicate how you can enable business leveraging technology, because the decision makers in a lot of the organizations, right, don't necessarily have that skill set of bringing these two together. They are relying on someone else to come in and help them bridge that gap. Because if I'm a business owner, I'm running my business, I want to be focused on my core business. And I want to rely on some of my team members or my employees to come and tell me how I can improve my business based on their understanding of the technologies as well. So I mentioned communication skills is absolutely key. And it's not just about enabling technologies, but it's also a lot about when organizations adopt technologies, they're not going to do that unless they understand what the risks are associated with that technology and how they can manage those risks. So having that understanding of, you're going in not just with, a cookie cutter solution to a problem or a gap that is there in that business, but also taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture of how can I enable adoption of this technology within a business practice while managing all of the key risks that are associated with it, right? And in my space in crypto, that's something that was absolutely key and came in handy because businesses don't just, adopt digital assets or adopt crypto. They need to understand, because this is an emerging area, they need to understand what are my risks, what's the downside to me adopting this technology, and how do I mitigate that downside by managing those risks appropriately. And a lot of times you might think that you'll see and you'll face, and I've faced this as well, that businesses want to avoid risks, right? And that's the challenge that we as MBAs have to overcome to be able to communicate that it's better to take some risks and manage it appropriately rather than completely avoiding it, right? We have some examples here in Canada itself, like BlackBerry. They were very stuck to their mindset of keyboards are never going to go away from your phone devices, right? And that's what, when iPhone came in, that's what led to pretty much like the demise of BlackBerry devices. So enabling that, mindset of the business leaders and having an open dialogue with them is something that I would say is absolutely key.
And I think that's so critical, right? When you think about someone who may have technical skills, but the idea of bridging that with business comes with, how do you effectively manage people or even get, aligned with people in terms of the vision as well. So thank you. No, that was a fabulous thought. I want to take a couple of more questions from the audience before I go back to some of the things that I have for you. Um, Tejas is asking which industries or roles are most in demands for people that come with an understanding of both business and technology today, with expertise of both.
Um, I would say, so one, again, industries, every industry is being disrupted right now with these technologies, right? So any industry you pick, like Canada is big on finance, insurance, telecom. You think about asset management, right? Trading, investing, like all of these industries are being disrupted as we speak today, right? So I'm not going to talk about a specific industry, but I think the second part of that question was that, what can we do to sort of bring in that skill set that enable us to get into those industries? And I think I've answered that, I've alluded to this, the response to this question is just having the practical knowledge, right? Like just having the understanding to identify what can be done better, what are the pain points. I mentioned, AI adoption, digital asset adoption. Again, enabling business. Now you think about managing risks around it. You think about all the regulations that that companies have to comply with. Those are adjacent roles that you can specialize in, and that builds your specific like niche skill set. So in digital assets, as I lead the Center of Excellence, like I've had to build my skill set across the spectrum of digital asset adoption because I work with our forensic teams. I work on the compliance side. I work with AML. I work with our risk teams. I work with our audit teams. I work with our asset management teams, strategy, market expansion. Pick your niche, right? And grow from there. That's what I would say. There are a lot of adjacent roles that exist, and it's not just, oh, I can do, like an AI 101 or a digital asset 101 course and expect myself to be an expert. It's just pick your niche, dive deep into that niche, go down that rabbit hole, become the best in that niche, and just having an understanding of what that broader landscape looks like and how you're enabling the other niches that exist in those technology sectors.
Oh, that's great. And Carl, you spoke about, obviously I'm aware that you established KPMG's Canada's crypto and blockchain practice, and you spoke about several functions that you've had the responsibility of or the joy of working with. Talk to us, what are some of the core challenges as well that you faced in aligning these cutting edge technologies with traditional business practices? And did the MBA play a role in sort of helping you, look at this as a more broader light?
Of course, I think managing people is absolutely a skill set that you need when you are building a business. Like I like to call the center of excellence, really like, a startup within a big firm, because there was no crypto center of excellence at KPMG when I joined. I had to build in, the entire strategy. I had to convince, I had to get the leadership buy-in. And this was like 2018 when not many people, not many companies were really talking about this industry. So especially not the big ones. And so it was upon me to really build that position within the firm, right? And they didn't have an opening of a crypto person, right? It was me convincing the organization and the leadership that there is a role for KPMG to play in this space, and that I understand what that role is, and then I can help you build that practice. So convincing the leadership and showing your value proposition, right? And that helps them build the trust in you, right? To be able to go out to market. And also when I came in, like I was relying on other partners within the organization to connect me with different clients that they had, right? They're not going to do that unless they trust you and unless they trust that the knowledge that you bring is actually going to add value to their clients, because they're putting their reputation, their name on the line when they bring you in front of someone. So I think it was a collection of, managing people both up and down. So as I hired my team, I needed to make sure that everyone in my team was handpicked based on, their skill sets, what they're passionate about, and what they bring to the table, and are they able to communicate that to me appropriately. So it's a lot about managing up, as managing up is as important as managing down. And I think that's one of the key skill sets that you need when you're looking to establish a practice or a business.
Mhm. No, and thank you for diving deeper into some of those opportunities as well as some form of challenges that came about as well. I'm gonna take another question that's come in from folks that are joining in today. Um, Let me take this one. Okay. Um, and this sort of goes back a little bit to your MBA experience, Kunal. For somebody that doesn't come from a business or a tech background, and if they, hypothetically, this candidate that's asking this question comes from a political science background, do you feel an MBA is valuable for them? And maybe a bridge between the traditional MBA or the tech MBA. What are your thoughts on that for someone with that background?
I think it's a great question, right? Like a lot of our discussion has been focused on technology and how technology enables business. But I think it's a great question because a lot of people that were in my MBA batch as well, right? They were not from a technology background. They were not from a finance background. Some people had political science, some people had economics, some people had art backgrounds. But as you start to think about, as I mentioned earlier on, every industry is being disrupted today, right? Regardless of what industry you're in, it is being disrupted by it directly or indirectly via technology. Now, what can an MBA can add value for, at least, for all the people that are coming in without that technology background, is just being around people from across the globe, the multicultural background that you see, and understanding how things are being done in other geographies, learning from your friends, building that network, building connections, is what's absolutely valuable, right? Like I'm still friends with, like I'm still in touch with pretty much like 50% of my batchmates, and living in downtown now, like I see a lot of my batchmates, I see a lot of my friends every day as I'm walking in the city. So that network is what really helps you think through different challenges, different markets that you can enter, right? Like one of my batchmates, and this is a very recent story. One of my batchmates was also a very good friend of mine. Like he didn't know anything about digital asset space, right? He had a different background, a sales background, but we recently were having lunch, and I got him into the crypto space, and now he's leading a team in a crypto company here in Canada. So those kind of opportunities open up when you have that network, when you build those friendships across different, multicultural environments and multi-industry environments as well. So regardless of what your background is, I think that network really helps you think through and align on where you want to go. And your friend circle, your network really enables you to be successful in those industries.
Very well put. And I think it's nowadays is so commonly said that your network is truly your net worth, and this sort of
Yeah.
aligns back to that as well. I want to bring in Lindsay to come on screen as well. The next question, I think it's quite interesting, both from the lens of Kunal where you sit, but also from where Schulich is as well. So I'll ask the first question to you, and between both of you, I think this would be a great place to answer. Ajay is asking, how does Schulich help a person with prior PE or strategy consulting experience actually gain more insights into the early stage PE VC space in Canada? And do companies recruit summer interns in those related fields from the Schulich MBA international cohort in particular? His second part of the question is about visas, but let's first address this, and if both of you want to throw some light on this aspect. Kunal, if you want to start, and then I'll bring in Lindsay as well.
Sure. I'm sure Lindsay can shed a lot more light on it, but this is an area, and if you have the prior experience, right? Again, there is a responsibility on Schulich, to enable your skill sets even further and help you build that network. But it's really on you how you want to leverage that network, right? Like it's not, internships don't come easy anywhere across the globe, right? It's across the globe, it's a competitive market. So especially if you're looking into this VC space and private equity area, that's an area where you build your network, you show what you're able to do, you show what value you're able to add by having coffee chats, lunches. And I can tell you a lot of Schulich alumni have big startups in Canada and globally, and especially in the space as well. Like there's a lot of PE and VC activity happening in Canada, especially as we talk about emerging technologies. So it's really about bringing your prior experience, if you have, and showing how you can relate that experience and translate that experience, helping these companies make more money, because at the end of the day, that's what PE and VC is. So how you're able to show that is going to be absolutely key. And from my perspective, I think Schulich enables that network for you. And I'm sure there's one of the things that I wanted to mention here is when you're coming in for the MBA, don't just think about, oh, I want to, what's the job market like? Think about creating jobs. Think about your own startups, right? A lot of people from Schulich have successful startups, right? In Canada and globally. So think about building your own startup. If you have your prior experience that can address a challenge within this industry in Canada, because maybe Canada is lagging behind in that space. If you can bring that perspective and have your own startup, you can build a very successful business yourself. So I'm sure, Lindsay, you have a lot more to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, Kunal, you were really successful yourself, landing a really coveted consulting internship as an international student that had just moved to Canada, and then you were able to really land a great role. I would imagine that your case competitions and also your consulting group probably added to that ability to land that great of a role. We have a lot more supports for students to get internships. We have the Center for Career Design that supports in finding those internships. We have a brand new Office of Professional Development that you can actually do an additional diploma now. This wasn't around when Kunal was here, but they help you in finding credit-bearing internships as well. We also have some credit-bearing internships through Schulich Startups, so you can work with some of those amazing startups in the community. But also some partnerships with the Canadian government and other large banks, consulting groups to have placements in between the MBA. In our tech MBA, we have a built-in internship. So it's a requirement of the program. We help you find that. And also that network. In the Tech MBA, we have a mentorship program, and some of these are C-suite individuals. And I remember the first cohort of the Tech MBA, we had a networking event, really high-profile mentors. In our first class, somebody said, "I'm going to hire her." Like permanently on the first day of orientation. So again, back to that, yes, there's tons of opportunities and you have to seize those and impress others and bring those transferable skills in, like Kunal said. Nobody's just going to hand you a job like that first day. They were obviously impressed by her, right? So those opportunities are plentiful, and then you have to take that opportunity. 2 nights ago, I think we had a Schulich alumni mentorship where we had 100 alumni and 100 Schulich students come out and speed mentor with one another. And there's lots of programs like that where you can really tap into our amazing alumni network and find those jobs. And there was that question about visa. Certainly, you may have heard a lot of changes happening in Canada and other countries all around the world. I'm pleased to let you know that universities are still providing study permits, are still providing at the master's level in universities, open work permits for graduates of our master's program. So you don't need company sponsorship. And right now in Canada, for at least the university sector, there is no STEM designation required. You just have to complete your program, and then you'll have that open work permit where you can kind of equally shop around for jobs like anyone else. And Kunal may have more to sort of speak about that, which is, like we don't have those barriers for students where you say, I want to be sponsored or please hire me. From my perspective, students are coming out more equal in terms of work permit and visa, and it's more the skill sets they're looking to demonstrate. But I'll just leave it there and certainly answer some more questions in the chat if you have any questions about that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lindsay. And I think, just getting perspective both from Kunal, who's been through that journey as a student, and then from the school side as well, for folks that are listening, and it's quite valuable as well. So thank you, Lindsay, for that one. Kunal, I'll bring you my next question before I bring back the Schulich team as well. Especially as an international student, talk to us, the the initial phase of when you started looking for the right role. Are there, what was that journey like, and what were some of the challenges or advantages that you saw with, with the Schulich atmosphere around you?
I think that's a great question, and I'm trying to bring myself back, almost a decade ago, when I was looking for that first internship, and it wasn't easy, right? Like there were challenges. I did not land the first role that I applied for or interviewed for. There were, challenges. Like I did apply for multiple opportunities, and it's about keeping your head high, knowing your own worth, and keeping an open mind about taking in new skill sets, continue to learn, right? I think one of the biggest supporters or enablers for me in landing the internship was networking. So coffee chats with people that are in the industry or in companies that you want to work in, and just going in, not asking for a job, but asking for their mentorship and guidance that can help you, enter that industry. I always like I'm also open to various coffee chats, and I've been having a lot of coffee chats over the last decade with international students that are coming in. But a lot of times when they ask me, "Oh, can you hire me?" It's like you've not shown me enough for me to hire you, right? And especially in my industry. So I think it's about, as international students, I understand we're looking and we're hungry for that role, but it's about building that network and nurturing those relationships so that the people that are mentoring you are invested in your success as well. So I may not be in a position to give them the job because they're not in my industry, but if I am mentoring them, if I am helping them think through this journey, I have the connections. I can connect them to someone else that might be in a position to give them an opportunity. So it's always about don't ask going in like give me a job, or can you hire me in your team, etc., or in your organization. I think it's a lot about building and nurturing those relationships. And I did that with my mentors, not just here in Canada, even, I came from India. I stayed in touch with my mentors in India, and I didn't ask them for a job, but they were invested in my success and made the right connections for me to be able to land that job. So I think that's absolutely key. And I do have, think about people that you're reaching out to when you're networking. Like, I'll take the KPMG example. I sometimes get messages on LinkedIn that, oh, there's a KPMG opening. Can you help me, with my resume and referring me? Well, one, I may not even know you, right? Just because we're coming from the same school doesn't mean that I'm immediately, spending my time to help you. You need to invest in that relationship yourself. And understanding that KPMG is a big company, right? I may not know, right, with the team that you're applying for. If let's say, I lead the digital asset practice, and someone comes to me and says, well, they want to apply for a finance role. I can't really, I can do only so much. I can tell you about the KPMG culture, but I can't really tell you about that specific function. So be very targeted in your approach to networking, to nurturing those relationships. And as much as you are desperate for landing that role, do not forget that these people are here to, again, support you only if they are invested in your success.
And I think that's such great advice. And I won't tell you, my program was more than a decade ago. But when I did that, and one of the best advice I got, which I think till date it helps me as well, when you think about networking, I think the authenticity of that conversation is what is probably the most critical thing that people remember. Think about what you can give to that conversation before what you ask for what you're going to get. And to Kunal's point, for everybody that's going to go onto this journey, you're going to be in a competitive environment. And as you go into that environment, it's equally important that someone likes you before they decide to refer you. So invest that time and energy, like Kunal said, to get to know that person if you want them to refer you, or even if you want to, just learn from their experiences. Sometimes being transactional is probably, it's not a volume game where you're trying to do as many, but it's about those few connections that potentially over time can be as good as close friends and family, that you consider as well, especially as an international student when you go into new geographies.
Yeah.
So
and one thing
Yeah.
I would add there, Paras, is the
Please.
authenticity that you mentioned is absolutely critical. And thank that mentor, right? Or inform them whenever you land a job. It may not be through them, but inform them, and that's how you build those relationships. That's how you're not only reaching out to them when you were in need for a job, but now that you have a job, or you have some success, you're still reaching out to them, and that's what maintains the authenticity. And it's not a transactional networking that you are entering into.
No, thank you for that, Kunal. Kunal, one question for you before I turn on to, and there's, we appreciate firstly for everybody that's posting questions, and a big thank you to the Schulich team who's done more than 75% of questions have been answered. So for those folks that have questions, please keep posting them. The Schulich team will try and answer as many as they can as well. But I want to, Kunal, one question for you, which is slightly more industry centric, which is why I want to bring that to you. What's your take, and this is from one of the attendees asking, what's your take on cloud computing as an emerging field in tech that may have impacted finance as well?
I think cloud computing was, and again, this is my own view. I think cloud computing was an emerging field maybe 4 years ago. Most of the organizations today are on cloud. They are adopting cloud, have already adopted cloud, and what skill set is going to help in that line of work is how do you optimize the use of cloud? Like enabling cloud adoption is, I think it's been around for a while. And so again, the pool of people that have that skill set is absolutely humongous. So how do you find your niche in that, right? Do you go into just, the cloud architecture? How do you build that for the organization? Or how do you help them manage the cloud security risks, right? So the cloud security risk, how you manage that, and how do you, let's say, do the assessments on that. There are, certifications on CSA, like the Cloud Security Alliance. Do you want to build that niche and that specific skill set that manages the risks in the technology that's already been adopted and has been there for a while? I think those are the kind of things and adjacent roles that I would encourage everyone to think about, and not be a generalist in cloud computing, right? Like you have to find your niche. Being a generalist helps, in your broader success, but having a niche helps you get into and land a job, get into the business and land a job, or start your own business. So like, you don't have startups that are trying to solve 10 different things at once, and those startups are generally not successful. But if you have that one niche and that your focus is on that one niche and you're the best at it, that those are the startups that are very successful, and it goes for people in those skill sets as well.
Wonderful. No, thank you for that, Kunal. One question between, again, I'm going to bring Lindsay up before we hand over to the team to present and talk a little bit about the programs. There's a lot of questions that have come up about the programs. So I'm going to let the team talk a little bit about that. But there's one question which has come from Sucheta. And Kunal and Lindsay, I think, again, this is something that both your inputs might be valuable for. How does Schulich foster collaboration between faculty and students? How's the curriculum designed to balance between theoretical knowledge as well as practical application? And what kind of student services for international students in particular did Kunal you experience? And Lindsay, if you want to elaborate a little bit on that as well. So Kunal, first to you, and
sorry,
then
can you repeat that question again?
Sure. So how does Schulich foster collaboration between faculty and students? And the second part of that is how is the curriculum designed to balance the theoretical knowledge that you gain in classroom versus practical application? And what kind of student support did you get personally, Kunal, as an international student that helped you in building this career?
Sure. So, when we talk about practical or pragmatic sort of knowledge, I think I mentioned case studies, right? A lot of people don't realize the importance of those case studies. These are real life problems that companies have faced in the past, right? That students are trying to apply their own knowledge, their own experience in solving that challenge for those companies, and presenting that in the class. You might not be wrong, but you have 50 or 20 different groups that are probably trying to tackle that same thing. So you're getting 20 different perspectives and 20 different ways of how that problem statement can be tackled, right? So that experience really helps you think through. There were times, and again, I'm not saying I was the brightest at Schulich, but there were times in my strategy class where for a tire company, like, for them to be successful and the challenges that they were facing, we were looking ahead and trying to retrofit how EV or electric vehicles can come into picture and help that tire company become more successful. But that wasn't really a good fit, right? And learning from your own sort of mistakes or learning from other people's better work, right, is going to be key. And that's the kind of collaboration that you can expect in a classroom setting. And the professors are very, open to having a dialogue with you outside of the class. And at least in my time, I know all of the professors that I would reach out to, I would send an email to, were very receptive to providing their feedback. And I still, see my international negotiation professor, Graham Deans. I still see him. I saw him last week as I was having lunch with someone else. We were in the same restaurant. So the professors still remember you, and they still are, asking you about how you're doing, how your career is. And I think professors are really invested if you have that open dialogue with them, and if you just talk to them about what challenges they see in the companies or the work that they do maybe outside of Schulich. And those are the things that really help you build that network with the professors as well.
Wonderful. No, thank you, Kunal.
Great.
Lindsay?
Yeah, and I mean, just to note that we both have like tenured faculty that are research-based and leaders in their field, but we also have practitioners like Kunal that will come in and teach specific skills. I mean, he's not teaching specifically, but we have alumni, we have industry leaders that come into our classrooms to teach as well. So we have that great mix. And definitely professors help students navigate industries and give them advice and open doors for them and connect them with other alumni. So that certainly happens quite often. On the international student support side, we have an amazing international relations team and probably very unique even across Canada because we have immigration consultants right within the business school that help advise on study permit applications, help overturn refusals, provide a lot of support in that way, host transitional webinars to help you find housing, help you get cell phones, all these things. So our team goes above and beyond to make sure that you really have a smooth transition. And then of course you're mentored and buddied with by other international students in upper years that have gone through that same transition. And I think people really feel at home here. And I think what's unique about Schulich is that collaborative, supportive nature. Yes, business school can seem like it's competitive, but really at Schulich, everybody is just uplifting each other and supporting one another. And I think that's something really unique about the Schulich culture and also helps international students as they come in.
Yeah. The one thing that I would, leave everyone with, like, if there's one message, yes, you're coming in for an MBA, you have different classes, you have different professors. Also try and take part in the activities, the events, the case competitions, a lot of these things that are happening within Schulich. And Lindsay, I'm sure like you remember how active I was across different communities, different events that were happening. Never missed an event, never missed a networking event, never missed a party that was happening, that from different, clubs that were in Schulich. Those are the long-term relationships. That's how you build your long-term relationships, right? Like at the end of the day, companies only care so little about your end grades, right? They care about one, what have you learned, what are you bringing to the table, and also like who is bringing you in as well, so that building those lifelong relationships that you nurture during Schulich is going to help you. It's not going to, those friends are not going to help you land a job, in the next year, but those friends 5, 10 years down the line will be in a decision-making power and having the ability and in those positions that can help you grow your business or be more successful in wherever you are. So, build that relationship with your peers, build that relationship with your alumni. That really helps you grow, and don't expect immediate or near-term gains. Those you have to nurture, you have to invest in those relationships, and in the future, 5, 10 years down the line, is when you'll see a lot of the benefits come out, and at that time it will just be a friend talking to a friend, and you won't even think about it as a benefit. This is like, yes, we're helping each other because we're friends.
No, that's very well put. Thank you, Kunal, for that. I'm slightly conscious of everyone's time. So firstly, Kunal, thank you. And I think this conversation, as impactful it is for everyone that's listening in, I think I've learned so much about different ways of how, the bridge between technology and management, and especially in consulting, is working today as well. I'm going to take a quick second to post a second poll at this point. There are some Kunal, there are some questions that are still coming in. I'm going to try and see if there is a few minutes at the end. But firstly, we appreciate you being here with us today as well.
Of course, thanks for having me, and good luck to everyone that's on the call.
Wonderful, thank you. So for all the candidates, I'm going to launch the second poll that'll come up on your screen any second now. We know, we've heard so much about the potential of the MBA in Canada, and particularly at Schulich. Tell us, what is your primary motivation for pursuing an MBA in Canada? Is it around the career advancement opportunities that the country is bringing? Is it access to world-class education? Is it networking and global connections? Is it entrepreneurial ambitions that drive you to look at an MBA? Is it personal growth and skill development? Or is it something else that is of priority for you? So if you can take a quick minute to answer the poll on your screen, what is your primary motivation for pursuing an MBA in Canada? Career advancement opportunities, access to world-class education, networking and global connections that Canada has to offer, entrepreneurial ambitions that you have to build a business in Canada. Is it personal growth and skill development, or is there something else that is priority to you? We'll keep it running for another 10 seconds. So if I can request everybody take a quick second to answer the poll. Over 70% of you have already answered this, so that's great again as well. Another 10 seconds if you want to answer, what is the primary motivation for you to pursue a MBA in Canada? All right, with that, we're going to close the poll. Very interesting responses that will show up on your screen in just a second. All right, so the biggest priority seems the career advancements opportunities that Canada has to offer. The second most important is the networking and global connections, and very closely behind is access to world-class education. So thank you everybody that took the time to answer to the poll as well. With that, I'm going to bring up the team at Schulich. So if I can invite Carl and Sarah back up to present a little bit about the different programs at Schulich up next as well. Sarah, yes.
There we go. Hi, everybody. It's Carl again. Again, one of the admissions directors. I oversee admissions to the MBA program specifically, as well as a few other programs here at Schulich. I'm happy to give you a very quick rundown of our MBA program, knowing that I think we're over time already. But thanks again for staying and asking so many great questions in the chat. I'm going to address some more of those questions here in our conversation now. So for international candidates, we offer a 2-year full-time MBA program. And within that program, there's a lot of flexibility and customizability. We offer both a January and September start, so candidates can really choose whichever one best fits their timelines. And there's flexibility in program completion. So you can complete the program in 16 months, or people can add a 4-month break to pursue an internship and complete the program in 20 months. So for Canadian contacts, that is considered a 2-year program that gives additional options like a spousal work permit and other things that we mentioned. So our students also have 17 different options for specialization, so they can really focus on what areas or industries are most important to them. And we have some additional graduate programs that you can do in combination with your degree and complete 2 credentials at the same time for the same cost. So these options really afford the opportunity to balance your education and your career outcomes however you see fit. Next slide, Sarah. So I'll give a quick overview of what the 2-year MBA program is comprised of. So the first year of the program, that's the number 1 you see on your screen here. It's pretty much a set curriculum. This is, consider it like a managerial foundation year. And during that time, you'll be working on your business fundamentals through core courses such as finance, marketing, statistics, accounting, operations, among others. So there's also a focus on developing problem-solving skills and leadership skills and gaining a better understanding of organizational structures. Students also take that first year to explore various areas of business and really solidify what they'd like to focus on in their second year. Now, typically, I mentioned before, between that first year and second year, students have the option to take a 4-month break to pursue an internship. It's not mandatory to take that break, or it's not mandatory to pursue an internship. So it's up to you if you want to pursue it. But the majority of our students do focus on that. And there's a lot of support if you're seeking to find that internship. But as Kunal mentioned, the people that are getting the internships or maybe finding an easier route to internships are ones that are doing their best at networking, attending events, building their connections, and building those skill sets that bridge the gap between what they're currently doing, what they currently have, and what they're looking to pursue. Then we have the second year of the program, and that's actually number 2 and number 3 on your screen here combined. During year 2, you're going to be doing those things simultaneously. All of our MBA students do something called the Strategy Field Study, or also known as the 601. That's the course code. So for us, that's really the capstone project, one of the key highlights of the degree. We are not a research or thesis-based program. we are very much focused on hands-on practical applications of what you're learning in the classroom. So you'll be working in teams of 6, so yourself and 5 classmates, for 8 months with a real client. This is a live strategic consulting project where you're working with that real company to help them solve a real business problem or challenge that they're facing. And at the end of those 8 months, you're making recommendations for them to actually implement. So it's not a case study, it is live and real, and you have access to their internal data, information in their teams while you're finding those solutions. So you really get to apply your knowledge and skill sets of what you gained in your career so far, and then everything you've learned in your classes to this real world project, while also gaining experience, building your resume, building your network, and learning in, again, a practical environment. And then next slide, Sarah. All right, as mentioned previously, we do have 17 areas of specialization to choose from. You can see them all on your screen here, and there's also, they go into way more detail on the website as well. I encourage everyone to check out that MBA website. Now, you can choose up to 2 specializations that suit your goals and interests, or you can do what we call the general MBA, where you just pick and choose specific courses across many different areas. There is no right or wrong. The choice is really up to you, but there's a lot of, again, flexibility and customization here as well. Now, we do group them into 2 different areas. You see functional and cross-functional, but that doesn't mean you need to choose one from each area per se. You can really, again, choose whichever 2 you'd like, or again, do a general MBA and customize that. Now, if you're not sure what you'd like to do, that's why exploring in the first year of the program is really a good time to help solidify what you might be interested in pursuing or focusing on. Sometimes people come in with one idea, but then they see new things or expose to different things in the first year and they adjust or pivot, or they speak with alumni or our Center for Career Design with our industry advisors, or speak with their academic advisors, and they identify a different direction they want to go. So there's a lot of support. You're not alone in making this decision. There's a lot of support to help you kind of find whatever is the right route. So that's a quick MBA overview, and I'll pass it over to Sarah to talk about the tech MBA.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Carl. So as Carl mentioned, we're going to move into the Tech MBA. So for those of you who were able to join at the beginning, you heard that this is Canada's first and only MBA in technology leadership. So I'm going to go into some details about it, but at the end of the session, we're going to have some information about some info sessions that you can attend later to get more information, because we have a lot of questions in the chat about how to craft a strong application, what are the requirements, things like that. And we'll do a deep dive into those in those sessions. But for the MBA in technology leadership, so this is also a 16-month program. So there is a little bit different structure to how we deliver this, as it is a full-time program and it begins every September. So we don't have that January start date. That's only for the regular MBA program. But the Tech MBA program is really designed to evolve at the speed of technology. So its curriculum is really intentionally dynamic. So it adapts to the latest advancements and the trends that are shaping the tech industry. And so this is really ensuring that our students are always equipped with the most relevant knowledge and skills. So the students, what in the program right now, what they're learning at this time may be a little bit different from what you would be learning next September, as we see kind of the adapting of technology and business and that intersection. So it's always evolving. And a key hallmark of this program is really its emphasis on experiential learning. So our students really engage in that real world assignments. We have them participate in different case competitions, and they really do benefit from this mandatory full-time internship that I will speak about in a minute. But what really truly sets the Tech MBA apart is its integration in Toronto's vibrant tech ecosystem. So as I mentioned before, we do have Schulich Startups, which is a part of our Office of Innovation. So this is where students really gain access to the city's tech network through interactions with industry executives, one-on-one mentorship opportunities, and partnerships with tech leaders. And so we also have a tech advisory council. So as I mentioned, the curriculum is ever evolving and it's always changing based off of what we're seeing in industry. But the people who are driving this change in the curriculum are the people who are influential leaders who help guide this curriculum, because they are the people who are in industry right now, and they're embedded in the tech scene at the intersection of business, and they're influencing the changes of the curriculum as according to what they see in industry. And so just a very high level of the kind of 3 key program features. So we have 3 standout features, but there are many benefits to highlight that really set apart the Tech MBA program. So the first one is our mentorship program. And for those of you who were here when Lindsay was answering a question about our last class who had our mentorship program at the beginning, and they met all of their mentors one-to-one. And on that first day, their mentor said that they wanted to hire them. So this is a really great way for you to pair up with experienced executives, many of them being in C-suite roles. And this is really allowing you to get invaluable industry insights, you get career guidance, and really that personal support from somebody outside of the classroom who's actually in industry to help you with guiding your career. And next is the Venture Studio project. So you heard Carl speak about the 601 project in the regular MBA. So this is very similar, but it is a partnership with what we call 111. So this is a top incubator in Toronto. And this is where students are collaborating with innovative companies to really conduct strategic product and fundraising analysis. And again, it's a really good hands-on real world opportunity to apply your skills in the real world before you even graduate. And then lastly, you also heard Carl mention that in the regular MBA, there is an optional internship that you can take advantage of. So that's a 4-month internship. But in the Tech MBA program, this is actually mandatory and it's woven into your curriculum. So in your last 4 months of your program, you will be taking part in a 4-month internship. This is something that we help find with you. We do have companies that come to us, but we also help you in sourcing out various companies of your interest if you have something that you have a different focus on outside of what we provide for you. And so this is a great way for you to get that full-time work experience before you even graduate. And many of our students who are currently in the program right now completing their internship have actually already been hired on as full-time employees before they even graduate. So together, all of these features really do provide that unique and comprehensive kind of career-focused learning for our Tech MBA students. And I just wanted to touch on next steps. So I know that we do have a lot of questions about, as I mentioned, applications, application fee waivers, what to do next. So we are providing an application fee waiver for everybody who attended today. The way in which this works is you just need to apply for a Schulich program using the same email address that you used to register for this event today. So that is how it's recognized. It's automatically applied. So once you go through the application process, then you are going to be prompted to submit your application. Typically, this would ask you to pay $150 Canadian. Once you click submit, this will go through free of charge for you, provided that you're using the same email address. So there's no code, nothing like that. Please be cognizant of our deadlines as well. So for our international students, we do have round 2 deadlines that you must apply by. There are 2 different ones for each program. So our MBA is January 15th in the new year, and the Tech MBA is January 29th. So please make sure that you are applying by this time. So this ensures you to be successful in applying and hopefully successfully receiving that student visa in time. So this is really set up to ensure our students' success. And then we also had a lot of students asking about, a lot of candidates asking about upcoming events that they can attend for kind of a deep dive into more of the program specifics. So if you scan this QR code here, you can see our list of online events that you can just click on and register for. We are going to be having a Tech MBA online info session tomorrow. So that is November 28th at 12:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is going to be Toronto time. And we have a regular MBA one on December 4th at noon as well. So I will pass it back over to the SEED team, but thank you all so much for attending today.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Carl, for talking us through the 2 opportunities with the MBA programs at Schulich. I want to take a quick moment to also highlight that that Schulich is a part of the Seed Scholarships program for many of you that are thinking about looking at funding opportunities as well. I have just posted a link in the chat which you can access the scholarships through as well. Or you can go onto our website at seedglobaleducation.com and learn more about the Schulich scholarships available as well. With that, a big thank you to both of you, to Kunal, who spent more than an hour with us talking about how tech and business today has come together, and also to Lindsay, who was here with us earlier too. So thank you to everybody attending as well. I hope today's session was useful to answer some of your questions about pursuing a program in Canada, but also equally about learning how tech and business have come to collide in today's world as well. Thank you again, and I wish you the very best for the next steps of your journey. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you.